Hello. This we canceled church today for the safety of everyone, and sure enough, we did get the snow we were told we would get. And this morning I wasn't sure, right? I wasn't sure, so well, when I woke up this morning, um, I found myself wondering, like I did when I was a kid, before my feet hit the floor, I wondered, did we get snow? Did we get a lot of snow? And boy, I was hoping to be surprised the way Christmas morning used to feel. So I did peek through the curtain, and just for that moment, yep, we sure did get it. And I felt like a kid with all those possibilities, thinking about how much fun playing in the snow once upon a time felt. Back in the day, these snowstorms, they didn't scare me. They felt like gifts because it meant no school, especially when we got a lot. It meant sleds and forts and snowballs flying until my lungs burned from laughing. It meant wet mittens and cold toes, too, but there was always hot chocolate waiting when I came back inside to warm up. Those days felt safe and wonderful. And the truth is, they had nothing to do with me. They felt safe because my parents were the ones paying attention. They were watching the weather. They were planning ahead. They were making sure there was heat and food and a way through. I never had to worry about any of that. I lived inside a trust without really knowing its name. And that's what Jesus is talking about in the scripture, that this childlike awe reminded me of. In Matthew 18, verses 1 through 4, Jesus says this: at the time that the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" And he called a little child to him, and he placed the child among them. And he said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." So I had to ask myself, what was Jesus truly talking about when he says, unless you become like little children? Because he's not talking about behavior. He's not saying children are better or sweeter than grown-ups, and he's not telling grown-ups to act like fools or be childish. Let's look at this for a moment. The disciples at that time were arguing about who's the greatest, who matters the most, who's got the most importance, the most authority. And those are the kind of things in this world that seem to go far, that seem to matter. And in the middle of this question, Jesus places a child. You see, in that world, a child had no power, no authority, no status, no safety net, no control over their life. A child depended completely on someone else to provide, protect, guide, and love them. And Jesus is saying, that's what trust looks like. And essentially, he's calling the disciples and us away from self-reliance. Because when we grow up, snow and storms and life take on a completely different theme. It's not always fun. It's work. It's shoveling. It's cold. And when life gets hard or cold, we start saying these two words, what if? We start saying them a lot. What if the power goes out? What if I can't get out of my driveway? What if I can't get home? What if I didn't think of everything? So we do what we do. We make lists, we prepare as best we can, we scurry around handling one worry at a time. And when it's all done, we finally sit down, take a deep breath, and hope that our efforts made a difference, that we did okay, that nothing will go wrong. And it's not that I'm saying, or that Scripture says preparation is wrong, because Scripture calls being prepared wisdom, wise. But Jesus is naming a danger that we often overlook in all of our scurrying, busyness, preparing, because those things can quietly replace trust. We start leaning more on ourselves than God, not because we stop believing, because we stop depending on Him. We stop needing Him. And that's when hearts start to close, not only to God, but to others. And so this is what Jesus is talking about in Matthew, when he says, unless you become like children. He's not reminding us to be childlike, but he's reminding us not to lose something as we grow older, to not lose or not forget to trust in the one who provides everything for us, who sustains us, who carries us when we can no longer carry ourselves. Now, children, they do what they can. They try, but they do remember who they depend upon. And somewhere along the way, we learn to stop doing that. We will do our part. We do prepare, we work, we take care of what's in front of us. But sometimes we pretend we can carry everything alone. And we don't give ourselves permission to ask for help, particularly God's help. And just as importantly, the help from others who God places in our path to give us help. Because the moment we only rely on ourselves, there's a part of us that closes inside. And when we trust, really trust, something opens inside. That's the point Jesus is making. Because faith isn't about how strong we are, it's about who we lean on. And when we live that way, we don't just get through storms, we actually find joy in them again. So this doesn't end with the thought, it ends with the small movement. If we're living the way Jesus is talking about, open, trusting, not closed off, then we don't just think differently, we notice differently. Our eyes are open. And as you go through today, look beyond your own door. You know, there are people who no longer feel secure when storms come. There are people who don't have the strength or means to prepare the way you and I do. People who live alone, people whose bodies don't cooperate anymore, people who are quietly hoping nothing goes wrong. Reach out. Make that call. Send a message. Check in. Ask, are you doing okay? Ask, do you need anything? And if you are the one who's struggling today, let yourself receive that care. Let someone know you don't have to carry this alone. That's what childlike trust looks like when we grow up. We lean on God. We lean toward one another. And I want you to leave with this blessing. May you go this day trusting more than worrying. May you feel held even when the weather turns or work feels heavier. May you notice who needs a call, a word, a little help, and may you have the courage to reach out. And may you rest in this truth. You are not carrying life alone. God is holding you now and always will. And I pray that you will have peace today, even in the snow. God bless you all. Hope we'll see you next Sunday. We'll be opening our studies to the book of Revelation, and I'm looking forward to spending that wonderful time with you again. God bless you.